Welcome back to Understanding Human Anatomy. And this is the 5th video in the series discussing the peritoneal cavity. And where we left off last time, we had the liver develop into the ventral mesentery. It's an outgrowth of the foregut, and it grows into the ventral mesentery and develops there. And that divides the ventral mesentery into a falciform ligament from the liver to the body wall and a lesser omentum from the liver to the stomach. And it's actually going to the lesser curvature of the stomach. Now, we want to progress in the embryo's development into the beginning of the 6th week. And I'll start, as I have in all these, by drawing in the body wall. Like so. And put a vertebra in here. We'll draw in an aorta. We'll draw in an aorta, and just to the right of the aorta we'll draw in an inferior vena cava, and then we'll put the kidneys in. And the stomach will have moved to the left and become more horizontal. So we're going to draw the stomach looking like this. And the liver will move to the right. As the stomach moves to the left, the liver moves to the right. So we'll draw the liver in like so, and then color it. So let me label our organs here. This is the stomach. The kidneys are back here. And then the liver is here. I'll sketch in the peritoneum. I'll start with the parietal peritoneum here, wrapping around the body wall. Over to about this place. And what we're going to find is that the attachment of the mesenteries shift in the same direction as their organs shift. So the dorsal mesogastrum moves over to the left as well and comes to lie close to the kidney. And we'll put it in like so. And we have visceral peritoneum, and one side now of the lesser omentum, and now visceral peritoneum around the liver, and then one side of the falciform ligament. And if I go back, put parietal peritoneum in the dorsum, and then along the body wall like so, and there's the other half of the falciform ligament, visceral peritoneum of the liver, then the lesser omentum, then visceral peritoneum of the stomach, and then the dorsal mesogastrum coming up like so. And we'll put some labels in. This is the dorsal mesogastrum. And we'll connect a line to that. We have the lesser omentum, and the lesser omentum is the remnant of the ventral mesentery that runs between the lesser curvature of the stomach and the liver. And then we'll have the falciform ligament, and the falciform ligament is the remnant of the ventral mesentery that goes between the liver and the body wall. And what this has done with the movement of the stomach and the liver, the partitioning of the peritoneal cavity that was right and left is now anterior and posterior. And we call the anterior part the greater sac. Of the peritoneum. And we call the area posterior the lesser sac. And just to distinguish it, I'm going to color it in with a light color, but just distinguish this area. And then this will be the Omental Bursa, or lesser sac. So the lesser sac of the peritoneum, the Omental Bursa, is that area of the peritoneal cavity sitting posterior to the stomach and liver. Now, this actually becomes closed off inferiorly. And it becomes closed off because as the stomach rotates to the left, the duodenum rotates or moves to the right and gets pressed up against the dorsal body wall and fuses, becomes secondarily retroperitoneal. And as the duodenum becomes secondarily retroperitoneal, it closes off the Omental Bursa from the rest of the peritoneum. So this is how the Omental Bursa comes to exist. Now, we have one more thing to develop in here, organ to develop, and that will be the spleen that develops in the dorsal mesogastrum. So let me move on to another diagram that will show where the spleen develops. Now I'll start, as I usually do with these diagrams on the peritoneum, with drawing in the body wall. And again, a vertebra, we'll draw in an aorta, and a vena cava sitting just to the right of the aorta, an inferior vena cava. And again, the kidneys. Like so. And our section through the stomach will be, put the stomach right about in the middle again. We're just moving down a little bit to get more towards the middle. And we'll draw in a liver that has grown much larger, and the liver is sitting to the right of the stomach, and we'll color that in. And again, before I get going too far, let me get some labels in here. And next, I'll sketch in the peritoneum. So here's the parietal peritoneum coming around. And it will reflect up here as a falciform, form part of the visceral peritoneum of the liver, then lesser omentum, visceral peritoneum of the stomach, and then come over here to form part of the ventral mesogastrum. And going the other way along the dorsal body wall, and down I get to the falciform, the other half the falciform ligament, then visceral peritoneum of the liver, other side of the lesser omentum, visceral peritoneum of the stomach, and dorsal mesogastrum. And again, I'm going to color the lesser sac, the lesser peritoneal sac, in this pinkish color, just to distinguish it from the greater sac. So you see where it is, again, posterior to the stomach and liver. Now, the new structure that develops is the spleen. And the spleen is not part of the digestive tract. It develops from mesoderm, and it develops within the dorsal mesogastrum. So what we're going to find, much as the liver grew into the ventral mesentery, the spleen, which is a lymphoid organ, develops in the dorsal mesentery. And let me finish off the dorsal mesentery here. Like so. So that this is now the spleen. here. And now the dorsal mesogastrum becomes divided into two. It becomes divided into a gastrosplenic ligament. And draw a connecting line. And a splenorenal ligament. And it's called splenorenal because it runs between the spleen and the body wall right at the kidney. So a ligament running from spleen to kidney. So now the dorsal mesogastrum ceases to exist. It's divided into gastrosplenic ligament and splenorenal ligament. And the spleen is therefore developing in the dorsal mesentery. Again, the spleen is not an outgrowth of the digestive tract. It is a mesodermal organ. It is a lymphatic organ. But it develops in this place, which means, among other things, the spleen is going to share a vascular supply with the organs of the foregut. And I'll put a couple of more labels in just so we remember. We'll put in the falciform ligament. And we'll put in the lesser sac. That area, and finally I'll put in the lesser omentum. Running between the lesser curvature of the stomach and the liver. And then all this area in white is the greater sac. So, we now have the major components. We have foregut, represented by the stomach, the liver, a derivative of the foregut, and the spleen, which develops in the dorsal mesentery out of mesoderm. In the next video, I want to talk about formation of the greater omentum. Thank you for your attention.